Hi everybody, welcome to the South Australian Sports Show. We're with you for the next 4 weeks. Plenty to talk about in South Australian sport. I'm joined by Rob Popplestone. Poppy, how are you?
I'm going really well, but I'm
what
going
about
better.
Our special guest?
Libby!
I'm back, thank you.
She's back.
Yes, our Libby Hopwood's going to join us, so it's, I guess, what would you say, the rose between two thorns on the panel?
Well, sort of the rose to the side of two
I was
thorns.
going to say, does that mean Poppy's the rose?
Yeah,
So
no,
the reason we've
not
got you
quite.
over there is we can shove you off any time we want to. So plenty to talk about, and we will talk about you and what's happening in your world. We want to have a chat about the cricket. Of course, the Redbacks are on fire. We need to have a talk about Adelaide United. What is going on with Adelaide United? Bit of Crows news, bit of power news going on, of course.
36ers.
36ers are going really well. And of course, we've just, Melbourne Cup's just finished. And the women.
And we're catching up with Claire later on. Claire Lindop's coming in later on.
She
so
will be in
really
later
look
on.
forward to having a chat with Claire. It's been a big week, hasn't it, actually? Where are we going to start? Melbourne Cup?
Melbourne Cup. Even though we're South Australian, let's talk about Melbourne Cup.
It's been a big week because Michelle Payne winning obviously made headlines not only around the country,
Around the world.
Just give us your overview of that performance, Lib.
It was obviously amazing. It's great to be at the Melbourne Cup, and it's great to see the winner.
You were there?
Yeah, I was. I got the opportunity to be in Melbourne and to watch it, but to see Michelle win it and to see her speech afterwards was quite hilarious. But no, she's a good girl. She deserved it. She's a great rider. There was a lot of jostling in the race, but she just gave her horse the gun ride, and it's got the result.
What was the most memorable moment for you in her winning the Melbourne Cup?
I think it was the look of elation on the salute. She saluted before the line. She just couldn't control it anymore. She knew she was going to win, and she just went the salute, and it was just the relief and the elation on her face was amazing. All
right, I'm sitting there with my daughter Holly, and neither of us are big horse racing nuts, but the Melbourne Cup does stop the nation. There's no question. We've got to admit that. I thought when her brother came out,
wow, that was good
with
Stevie.
The horse. I thought my daughter Holly's 18 years old. She's in love with. She just fell in love with him. He's just so cute. He's just so wonderful. Her whole focus was not on the race. It was all forgotten, just on Stevie. And then when he spoke afterwards, that I for whatever reason, that was the part that... I mean, fantastic that she was the first woman to win it. It was fantastic that it was an Aussie horse that won it,
but
so that we can still...
The whole story
the
behind
whole
it.
thing could not be a better story.
Stevie drawing barrier one. It was always going to be magic just from that moment.
Yeah, there were so many. Well, you know what? I think it's all of those elements combined together for the perfect story that now they're talking about a movie or a miniseries because, you know, the Payne family losing their mother, 10 children, Paddy continues on looking after the kids, 8 of the 10 kids being jockeys, Stevie Down syndrome, Darren Weir, 100 to 1 shot, Melbourne Cup Day. Every single element of that story, tick, 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 tick.
An absolute fairy tale. I was just glad I was there to witness it. It was amazing.
Did you get your hands on the cup?
I did. We went to the after party, which was amazing. Because
I went to the after party.
No, but it was at a really lovely pub, and you don't get that with the internationals. They sort of keep it in the sort of aristocracy of racing. But we're just at a normal pub. I walked in, Weary's got the cup, and he's going, yeah, and I went up to Weary, and he's come over, and I got a photo. He goes, no, you've got to hold it, and he's jammed it into my chest. I was like,
see, don't you love Aussie chicks? Just like this, he jammed it into my chest.
I like the big thumbs up after she won.
I reckon.
Good too.
Look, it was great, and you know, I mean, 100 to 1 shot. I'm not sure how long it's been since we've had.
On it?
No, you know what? No, I didn't. I gave it as a special for the Moonee Valley Cup at a function I was hosting on Cox Plate Day at the races, and its nickname is Pop, Prince of Penzance. My nickname of two, of course.
It was the Omen bet.
It's the Omen bet. Oh, I'm too clever. I went Grand Marshal. Actually, I need to borrow some money off you later too. I've got nothing left.
I want to ask both of you this though: how many people have you run into since the race that said, "You won't believe it, I put $10 on that"? Or there could not have been that many people that backed that horse.
I think women all over Australia have just $10. I've never put.
I wondered that because it was a female jockey. Do you reckon that happened?
Female jockey and 100 to 1 shot.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So look, it does happen, but it didn't happen for me.
What about the guy that cashed out when he had 3 up instead of went the 4?
Did you hear this story?
Yes.
So he had 3 horses.
You've already done the hard part. You've already got
3 horses. It started with a $5 bet or a $10 bet. $5 bet. He got offered $400 right now, or you can let it ride on a 100 to 1 shot in the Cup for
143,000.
He goes, you know what? Better the bird in the hand than the 140.
You're only going to lose $5. You've already got 3 winners up. Let it ride.
Gamble responsibly.
Yeah, that's right.
Gamble responsibly. All right, let's talk about other things that have been special. The Redbacks in the cricket, of course. They were 9 for 317 against WA, chasing that target of 316. Got it just. They had a mini collapse at one stage. They went 5 for 39.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, the heroes, Cozzy, I think, got 63, but Travis Head with his first century at 114. Is this a turning point for the Redbacks?
I think so, and I think this applies to any sport. You know, I think you judge a person or a team on the back of a bad performance, on the back of bad luck.
As good as your last bad ride.
It's how
they were pretty bad against New South Wales.
Yeah, they were, but it's how you
rise above that.
Rise above that, and how you bounce back, and that's the way you judge. And they actually put themselves out there and said, "Listen, we will bounce back from this horrible defeat to New South Wales." And they did. They had the WA side out for 211. They fell short, I think, 191 or something from memory. And then
4 ducks in that first innings.
Yeah, and then Western Australia, of course, come out and set them a healthy target. But to the side's credit, well done. It was a performance that you can build a season on.
And Travis Head sort of definitely cementing himself as the new young gun. He's only 21, I think.
Only 21, captain, and
I hear really good things about him.
Yeah.
Everyone I talk to involved with the Redbacks or other cricket, when they talk about him, they talk about, yep, this guy's going to be legit. I mean, he's had 64 innings in tests, you know, first Sheffield Shield stuff. 3 times he's been to 90.
Yeah.
Hasn't been able to get to 100. He's finally got to 100. So you sense that getting the captaincy has actually been a good thing for him, and there's probably going to be a lot more hundreds along the way. We've always relied on Callum Ferguson with the bat to make us respectable. And finally, there's someone else.
Yeah,
well, you've got Head, you've got Cosgrove, you've got a little bit of depth. So, you know, all of a sudden there's not on that pressure on one player or 2 players to play a game that's not natural just to hold up the side. So all of a sudden, you know, that shared responsibility in any side, in any sport, means that, you know, you're a good team. Right. But you know what? We've in this particular show, we've spoken to Tim Nielsen, we've spoken to Stephen Schwert, Jamie Siddons is the new coach. They seem to have the right people in the right places, and now it's all about the players just performing. That's what it's about.
And they have an understanding that they're on a path, and they're building on that path. They're not expecting it to happen overnight, and they want to win every game. But they're realistic about where they are and where they're going. I spoke to someone that turned up at the game towards the end. He said during the day there was hardly anyone there.
No.
Then all of a sudden, business finished in Adelaide, and all these people started flooding into the game at Adelaide Oval. He said it brought back some amazing memories.
Of the Sheffield Shield final. It's exactly what happened. I was there, actually sitting next to Shane Warne. Can you believe this? He had 2 pies. They were like that with sauce in the middle, on top of each other. And, you know, for that last 30-plus balls, when we needed just to stay in to win the Sheffield Shield final, I said to Warne at the time, what do you do? What do you do as a bowler? Because I think Hogg was bowling at the time. What do you do as a bowler right now? He said, just bowl your best ball. And that's always stuck in my mind, that whatever your greatest asset is, do it at the most appropriate times. But on that particular day, the crowd came down because there was 10 men and a dog on day 1, and most of them were playing anyway. But then by day 4, as you said, at the end of the game, wow. People will come at the right times.
Well, I thought, you know, for many ensayers, of course, they're the last 2 men standing for the Redbacks. They've got to, not only do they have to stay in to get the win, but suddenly there's a big crowd in. So
they could have stayed
both of them, that they could have been distracted. It could have gone a lot of different ways, but it's a really positive sign. Now, they play Brisbane next at the Gabba. Now, let's have a chat about the Gabba and where Test cricket may be going. So they couldn't draw a crowd at the Gabba.
I fear...
Where is Test cricket at?
Well, I fear that it's on its knees, and it probably has been for a little while. But when Australia take on New Zealand, who recently were, you know, at our World Cup finalists, come to Australia, to the Gabba, and we get 16,000 people there, 8,000, 4,000. That worries the heck out of me. It really does.
It's an indicator of where it's going.
Well, it is an indicator, and what worries me most is that Australia sort of cruised through them reasonably comfortably. They then go to the Wacker, where with the bowling of Stark and Johnson and Marsh, I mean, they think Gabba's scary. After the Wacker, luckily the third test, inverted commas, the third test is at Adelaide Oval. Maybe, you know what, almost the future of Test cricket hangs on the success or otherwise of the pink ball.
All right, I'll just digress for a moment. The reason it'll be successful in Adelaide is that there's things outside the ground. So there's marquees set up. You can go and do other things. There's nothing at the Gabba.
No.
There's nothing at Perth. So you can make a full day exactly right.
And not see a ball bowl.
Exactly right.
A bit like being at the Melbourne Cup in the birdcage.
Yep. There was people out in the car park. They paid a lot of money to have tickets out in the car park, and they've hashtag Melbourne Cup, but they haven't seen a horse.
Yeah.
So I think Adelaide offers that, and that I think is partly where the Gabba and the Wacker fall down. But I want to ask you this: Liv, you're younger than Poppy and I. Where does Test cricket sit for you? Are you bored with Test cricket? You like the short form?
I am, but really the last time I was really into cricket was when I was younger, and we had sort of the Brett Lees and the great old team that we used to have, and sort of there's no real rock stars to make cricket interesting anymore. I don't know any of the names really of the people that are playing, apart from this young head guy, which I've only just noticed because I've done a little bit of research, and he's showing like he's got the capacity to go on and make a name for himself, but we don't have the rock stars of cricket that we used to have.
Look, I reckon it's a really valid point, and part of the reason for that is because we've got so many players playing 20-20, then you've got the 50-50, then you've got the one day, then you've got the test, and so there's where it used to
people haven't got time though.
They can't follow.
You know what? We're all time poor. We're all scratching to find 5 minutes. Who's got 5 days to go and see a test?
I think within the next 20 years, Test cricket will be dead. Perhaps other than Australia and England that has that tradition.
You know, it's
going to struggle.
The Big Bash is a perfect example. Remember when the one day match came out, 50 overs? We all jumped with. Now we haven't got time for one dayers. We want to see a package movie length that we can take a family to. There's bells, there's whistles, there's colours, there's noise, the whole works, and there's a game of cricket that goes on. You're entertained, you go home.
I've had this argument with Ken Cunningham, of course, David Hooks, that they are staunch that Test cricket will always survive. Yeah. But that's because they love it.
Hooksy and KG, big ones for that.
The young kids today, they want the Big Bash. They want the fireworks. They're not interested. The tradition
is shame to let
gone.
Test cricket die because it is such a tradition. How many centuries has it been around for?
And you know what?
Talk to them, though,
half the players don't want to play Test cricket.
No.
The big money's in IPL. The big money's in the Big Bash.
And do you blame them? They're playing for the money.
No, fair enough.
So, all right, I want to get on to the power. Of course, Kane Mitchell time trial started for Port Adelaide. He won the 3 kilometre time trial for the 1 to 4 year players. They started Monday. Now,
so there's been a Kane that's won it for the last 15 years.
That's exactly right. We've just changed the name to Mitchell from Corns, and I understand he's doing really well on the Fireys too. You're a 5-year plus player. You don't start until Monday the 23rd of November. Would you come in early?
You work early. You got to do.
Would you go in early, Lib, or would you take the break?
I'm always early.
Libby's a hard worker.
All right. Now the Adelaide. I'd always go early.
Yeah.
I'd be on before.
You'd be on before and you'd be gone later.
Yep, I definitely
You've always
do
been
that.
like that. It's actually quite annoying.
All right, and the Crows, of course, James Podsiadly's just signed as the back coach, which is unusual
surprising.
when he played most of his career up forward. Of course, he was a late starter, 28 years old when he came into the AFL. He's 34 now. Premiership with Geelong in 2011, I think, from memory. Yeah. But most of his career up forward, but they're saying, and he has been a terrific mentor. Last year, he didn't get a game really, but he played terrific in the SANFL, unbelievably supportive. So I'm just interested on your thoughts on how you think he'll go as a defensive coach.
Look, surprising, but you know what? In a lot of ways, as a forward, you know what's required. You know what works against you. So it actually gives you an insight into. Even though you're a forward, into a defensive coach. So, look, I think it's unusual, but I think the appointment of him is unusual. I would have thought there were better qualified, credentialed people around the country than James. That being said, I think he showed all the qualities of a bloke that's heading in the right direction.
Oh, we've got a couple of ones that we have to get through quickly before we go to the break. Adelaide United, I want to ask you about them. I hear a lot of rumblings, a lot of dissatisfaction, all sorts of things going on.
Something's happening behind the scenes. I don't know what it is. And they're denying it, so you have to let it ride. But something's not right.
Nothing's good when you're losing, is it?
Well, and if we stop hearing things, it's always good it's always bad when it's silent. So
you know what? And you know what stops? When wins come.
All right, we're talking about winning. Adelaide 36ers have been able to do that.
One in a row.
Certainly since the induction of Jerome Randall, who's a little powerhouse of excitement.
He's good.
He has been very good. Now, they got over Sydney in a boil over, 16 points down in the last quarter.
How do you do that?
It happens in the NBA. It happens. So many people have stopped and said, that should never happen. I said, I can put you out a dozen NBA games where it happens. Yeah. So it happens across the board. It's just swings and roundabouts.
But it's still pretty unusual, that margin. I know it does happen.
Makes it unusual. Look, in the end, if you were coaching, you say, let's not turn the ball over. Let's not give Adelaide any easy layup shots, and we should be able to win the game.
You know what? The pendulum of pressure has swung from Joey Wright to the coach of the Kings, because if the Sixers lost that one, Joey had to be under the spotlight.
He would have been. He would have been under pressure.
He would have been like that after the game.
I agree, especially in Adelaide. Joey Wright's come out and said they need to get a major sponsor to keep Jerome Randall here next year. Will they get one?
Well, I hope they do because they need to keep him, but I'm not sure.
He saved the game. He saved the game against the Kings.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the money's coming from.
Last two shots, they couldn't.
Maybe someone watching the show tonight's got some dollars in their pocket.
All right, still plenty to come on the show. I hope you can stay with us for the best part of an hour. Look forward to your company. Back in a moment.